just because I want to capture it's especially what Eileen's going to say for folks that couldn't be here. And I'll forget if I don't do it when I remember. So Jeffrey, I see that you joined. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Jeffrey Cohen from ImageWorks. We're a full-service digital marketing firm. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and helping people get connected.
And playing guitars. I see him in the background.
Yeah.
Awesome. There you go.
Alone these days.
Yeah, exactly.
No more band experience.
I hate that. And Claudia, I see that you joined from Rio de Janeiro. Your microphone is muted. There you go.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Claudia. I am CEO. My company is a business studio. We are focusing internationalization, innovation corporative, and acceleration program for startup interaction.
Awesome. And Claudia is going to lead our meetup in Sao Paulo. So thank you, Claudia. And we're probably a month or two away from getting that started, but it's great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I see John Hannigan is on. John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Out of Norwalk, Connecticut, John Hannigan, co-founder of Choice Peterson. We are commercial real estate brokers who represent companies who lease or buy space. And we are based in Westchester and Fairfield counties, Westchester County, New York, Fairfield County, Connecticut. And we also handle transactions across North America.
Awesome. Fantastic. And Lance Scott.
If I can, hopefully you can hear me.
We can. There's a kind of a funny echo.
Sorry. I'll muddle through and then mute myself again. So Lance Scott, I'm here in Weston, Connecticut. My company Alliance Technologies focuses on advanced manufacturing and generally bringing international advanced manufacturing companies either getting started in the Americas or enhancing their growth by managing their entire operation. And we also have quite a bit of merger and acquisition support as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's, just so you know, the sound quality is almost like you're speaking in a tin can, but we heard you, so you're good.
I am in a tin can.
Well, then it's all good. Well, fantastic. Thank you all. Is there anyone we missed?
Hey, David Berkowitz.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. Go ahead.
I snuck in, and I'm just being really self-conscious about touching my face today. I'm like trying. So it's just been I'm just gonna have to like turn off video if I get that urge. But my hands are freshly washed. Anyway, I'm my serial marketer consultancy. Work primarily with a lot of like ad and marketing tech startups trying to target brands and agencies, and also run the serial marketers community.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, Sophie Lechner. I'm in New Jersey. My company is Global Commerce Education that I founded a couple years ago. And I help companies from abroad who want to enter the US market, but then that's what we all do. So I help them with market entry strategies, how to locate, identify, select, and work with the right professionals, and adapt product and marketing for cultural differences.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, welcome, Sophie. And anyone else? All right, cool. And this is, as you all know, conference calls are great, and they give us a lot of liberty. My biggest challenge is with, at least with some, I don't have the nonverbals, and especially right now I'm on the agenda, so I get no nonverbals. So I apologize for any missteps or not seeing that someone's on the call. So before we ask Eileen, just a real quick sort of overview of the purpose of the group. So our purpose is to help, and this is Softland Partners, is to help international companies successfully enter and scale in new countries and markets. So we kind of, or as we grow, I would suggest we're looking at this in two basic ways. One is having an online marketplace, which for those that have been on the website recently, it's beginning to take shape. And then the other is to begin building very, very strong, dense local communities where soft landing resources can connect and also really the whole ecosystem can connect and flourish. And really by somebody has an echo. Maybe if you're not speaking, if you could mute, that way we avoid the echo. But ultimately, as we get these local communities going, building good bridges between them that allows easy cross-border movement and ultimately helps both maintain win-win relationships and also creates fair, honest, and ethical relationships for these market entry companies. And certainly one of the things that spurred us to start this was just how vulnerable market entry companies can be, and how sometimes just for unintended reasons they can make bad decisions, and we're not going to eliminate all of them, but if we can help eliminate some and some of the maybe the less credible resources that are in the marketplace, we can certainly help assure better and more reliable market entry. So that's why we're here. We're about 6 months old, and we're very much, I would say, still in the formation stage, but a lot of really good, and you'll hear as we get into our agenda, we've got some really good partnerships that are coming online and some neat opportunities ahead. So with that, I want to introduce our speaker today, and she comes at customer experience from an academic, from a practitioner standpoint. She's been in this world for many years, very experienced in customer experience. And she's just been a real wealth of knowledge when we've had questions in this area. And Aileen, welcome to our call today.
Thank you very much. I'm setting my timers for my my 12 minutes. So.
Yes, so the format, just so everybody knows, so Aileen has been given 12.5 minutes to share, and I have some slides that I'll put on the screen for her, the 4 critical success factors of customer experience. And then we'll have about 12.5 minutes for any questions as well. So I'll get your slides up on the screen here, Aileen. Let's see here.
If you want, I can share them. I have them.
Oh, if you want, yeah, please, feel free.
Okay. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So I know some of you are in very related spaces, so that's great. And I'm sure you'll have the hard questions for me. So there's really 4 key, let me just see. There we go. I'm just, there we go. There's 4 critical success factors. Bill told me I had to boil it down to 3, so I took liberty and made it 4. But the 4 critical success factors of customer experience, and that's really design thinking. And design thinking is also called human-centered design, and it's nothing new. Okay, IDEO and Frog Design have repopularized it, but it's been around since the 60s, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Then really having a longitudinal customer awareness. So a lot of companies in the US and probably some of those who you're helping go from international to the US, they're very transaction oriented. What are you doing for me this quarter? And the CMO Council just identified long-termness, and long-term view is what differentiates those who are growing versus those who are not. So you need to think about the lifetime of a customer. We'll talk a little bit about data, and then my favorite topic is agile marketing. Agile is not just for IT, and it's practiced differently in marketing, but it's really important. So the whole idea behind design thinking and human-centered design is to think holistically. The consumer has to be at the middle. You have to start with research. You can't have an idea. You can't be, throwing spitballs at the wall thinking that you know what the customer thinks. You have to be grounded in real research, rigorous quantitative and qualitative research. So I worked with a 100-year-old insurance company that wanted to skip this step. And I told them they didn't have to pay me if they didn't learn something new. Okay, that's how important real research and quantitative results are. And guess what? They had to pay me because they lived and breathed research, but a consumer in their personal lines business said insurance is like a toilet. And I know some of you are in related fields, but insurance is like a toilet. There's not really that much difference between one or another, but you never want to get caught without it, right? So, and then you have to think about where can we add value. So if you're selling a product, what are the services that can go with that product? What is the Internet of Things? Think of a service wrapper that goes around the product. What are the platform plays? What are the APIs that you can use to create even more value with partners and other capabilities? And then this whole notion of what are their goals? There's this thing called jobs to be done. What is the consumer's job to be done? What is the pain they're trying to solve for, or what is the need they have? And is there a way to be more engaging? I got into marketing thinking it had to do with customers, only to find out I was wrong, and it was all about the company and their products and nothing to do about the customers. And you're not friends with people that only talk about themselves, and you're not going to be an engaging company if all you do is talk about yourself. So don't use those email lists to spam people with another promotion. And we can talk more about that. And I'm going fast because I know I'm playing beat the clock. So there's this whole notion that I call whole brain marketing. So there's the science of marketing, which has had a resurgence, thank God, due to digital. And then there's the art of marketing where, we're temperamental artists, you cannot measure us. And really, you have to do both, right? So whole brain marketers deliver experiences that have the customer or a consumer at the center. They're mutually beneficial. It's not just the company talking about themselves. It's asking the consumer or B2B customer questions so that we can tailor our offerings, we can personalize our offerings, we understand the context, we can become more relevant, right? So it's about personalizing the experience, becoming context aware and more engaging. Context aware is, where are they in their buying cycle? Where are they in their maturity of using your types of products and services and those types of things. And then customer experience is really challenging because it's the sum of all interactions, right? So it's everyone's job, and then that means it's no one's job, right? So often today, when there's a chief customer experience officer, they're herding the cats across the organization, trying to get everybody to play well with each other. So this is I have a degree in applied behavioral analytics, so excuse my equation, but customer experience is the sum of all interactions times across time and across touch points is what that equation means. So there's not all interactions are the same. Identify what are the drivers of customer value, and then what are the moments that matter or the moments of truth? Where are you inflicting pain on your customers, and do you need to remove friction? Or where is the moment of truth where they're either going to buy something or they're going to go to your competitor or something like that? You can't be fooled by individual touch points. So the voice the customer scores for one touch point is not the totality of what your customer experience is. So just because you had one good call at a call center or you had one good web experience does not mean that you're delivering good customer experience. And customer experience leaders outperform laggards. So there's 5 times more revenue growth. You can charge 4.5 times more for your product. And then the stock growth, depending on which stats you look like, the stock growth is either tenfold or 35% greater, depending if you look at Forrester or McKinsey. But no, the ROI is there. So this is just not a nice to do. It pays for itself in spades. So companies that use data are more successful. They're 5% more productive. They're 6% more profitable. They actually free up money by being more efficient. So they have 15 to 20% more bang for their buck with their budget, and they're 2 times more likely to be high performing. So, use the data and use it to be customer focused. There's lots of different types of customer data. It increases in difficulty and in value, going from descriptive data to behavioral data, and then ultimately you want to try and get to contextual data. So descriptive data is to understand the customer, and that's really the demographics, the firmographics, the things that are easily available. Behavioral data, you're understanding what their behavior is and probably some of their motivations. Why are they doing that? And you can buy third-party data to help you get at some of this, but doing first-party anthropological research is pretty important. And then contextual is the most valuable, but also the hardest to get to. And the reason you want this data is because that's what fuels personalization. That's what makes you context aware. So your website should not be rendering the same for every visitor. You should be dynamically rendering certain portions of the website based on what you know. The script in the call center should not be the same. When I call into the call center, there should be a prompt to the customer service rep saying, here's the question we need to ask Bill next, so that we can be smarter about what segment Bill is in. Probabilistically, we think he's in this segment, but if he answers this question, then we'll be able to determine which segment he's in and treat him differently. So it's an amalgamation of the data that the company has, which is called first-party data. Third-party data is data that you can buy on the market from Axion, Epsilon, Merkle, BlueKai, Oracle, etc. And then second-party data is the data that you borrow and share with other people, with all the right permissions, all the right opt-ins, privacy compliant. I can't urge you that enough. And then both Forrester and Gartner have been talking a lot about the chief marketing officer and the chief information officer needing to move beyond their historical, loggerheads and really forming a partnership. And that's from the strategy all the way through to, what's the strategy of the customer experience we're trying to deliver? And that's the basis of the requirements for the MarTech stack. How do you implement the MarTech stack? What is the data architecture? If you're going to have customer data driving personalization, you're going to have different data elements in that database than maybe a product-driven database or a company-driven database. And you have to have insights and marketing integration across the organization. So, whether marketing ops is in operations, or the call center is in operations, then, lead gen is in marketing and sales is somewhere else. Everybody needs to be using whatever the CRM tool is, populating the database and using it diligently and rigorously to drive customer value.
So Aileen, just so you know, you've got about a minute, and then we probably want to go to questions.
Yep. And then using Agile to drive marketing results, you've got to collect and integrate data. You need to analyze and discover, and I'll just click through this. You guys will all have these slides, but it's really about understanding your customers, managing the data, and then act and optimize is where the Agile part comes in, right? So this whole fast cycle, test, measure, and learn. Historically, marketing has been what I call a set it and forget it type of function. We set our budget, we set our plan, we're off to the races. And nothing could be further from the truth. Now we need to be looking at it on a quarterly basis, if not a monthly basis, and refining and always trying to beat ourselves. So with the last slide being, Pareto was a genius. This is the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your customers account for 80% of your profits. I've worked across every industry, and I've never seen this not hold true. So find who your most valuable customers are to start. And then you can build a lookalike model and try and acquire those most valuable type of customers. And you can see who are your most growable customers in your current database and solicit customer preferences so that you can let the customer train you, and then you can act on the insights, right? So don't ask a question if you're not going to be able to act on it, right? It's a fair exchange of value. If I tell you about how I want something, you darn well better listen. Otherwise, you've just told me that you really don't care. And so that's it with the slides.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was incredible content. So you did fantastic. What questions do we have for Aileen?
This is Jim Borum with Eagle One. I'm the customer experience officer. Can you talk a little bit about the individual touch points and the voice of the customer versus the overall customer experience that you were discussing? I don't know which slide it was. It might have been number 2 or 3.
Yeah, so a lot of times companies fall into the trap of having a voice of the customer measurement, you know, stay on the line if you'd like to give us your feedback after this call, or a quick little survey after they visit the web. And that's one point in time. That is one touch point, right? But that geeked out equation of all of the touch points over time is what your customer experience is, all of the interactions. So the fact that, and I'll give you a Best Buy example. So my Best Buy example is Worst Buy, okay? And the call center was horrible, the chat was worse, and the manager in the store saved the day. But overall, it was a horrendous experience. And they give me, you know, I get free ink for 6 months for buying the printer. Are you kidding me? It took me 3 hours to get magenta at my billable rate. Do you know how much that damn cartridge cost me?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you can't measure just one touch point at one point in time. You have to look at the totality and for that individual customer if you can, right?
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the fact that I had to go to the store was, even though it's only a 20-minute drive, was a dismal failure. Their whole promise was it was supposed, my printer was so smart, it was going to talk to Best Buy for me, and I was never going to have to remember to order or buy ink. But that failed miserably.
It's a
Right.
good
Thank
thing.
you.
It's a good thing that didn't affect you at all.
Oh, there's a blog coming out on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what other questions or comments do we have for Aileen? If you're speaking, you're on mute.
This is Stefan. I used to be in marketing, but boy, it's about 10 years ago now. So I'm not too up on the latest. I was kind of interested. I mean, I'm familiar with the concept of agile development in software, but not necessarily in marketing. And you know, I'm at a smaller firm with limited resources, but you know, we kind of got one guy who's running everything. But it's interesting to think about the concept of agile marketing, and I don't really know how we might move in that direction and what kind of guidance I can give him in terms of testing campaigns and then developing new, sort of adjusting on the fly.
Yeah, so for a small company, it's really a matter of always trying to beat yourself, right? So up yourself. So if you're looking, and I saw that you were in investment, so let's say you're doing marketing for lead generation and prospecting. So you might create a scoring algorithm that's geographically based, right? Or you know something about these households, you have access to some database that tells you something about the households. And from an agile standpoint, you can be tweaking the model. you can be tweaking the message of how you try and reach these people. You're trying to reach them with paid, you're trying to reach them with content, and see where you're getting your biggest bang for the buck. So you actually set up a scientific experiment of what is the best way to get qualified leads, right? And qualified leads that convert more quickly rather than a long sales cycle. So you can measure a couple of different ways of, what are the dollars they're investing with you? How much did it take in terms of time to get to the first dollar invested? And were they such a good acquisition that they then referred you to their friends? So there's lots of different ways of qualitatively and quantitatively saying how those different programs and models are working for you.
So it sounds like you're identifying what the message was and the mode, and then tracking what impact or results were created by that.
Right, and content can work a lot better in a sophisticated field like investments than just a banner ad, right? Because you're showcasing your expertise.
Cool.
Hey, Bill,
yeah.
Bill, can I add something really quick to that?
Yeah, please.
Just as a marketing guy, at its most simple level, A/B testing, especially in things with like paid search, if you're buying Google ads, because you can so quickly and again, agile, run one ad 1 week, run another ad another week, and see which one had a higher conversion rate. And that's separating the message out from the format. So I wouldn't tweak the message and the format at the same time, right? You want to be controlled. But it's so much easier to do what she's talking about now than it's ever been before.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anything you'd add to that, Aileen?
Yeah, I mean, it's about having the malice of forethought of what you want to test, right? So you might want to test what's the content that it is most appealing and gets, so you do a content test. Then you do a paid search test and so on and so forth. And really you test your way to brilliance and getting the best ROI that you can.
So, maybe a question, something that we struggle with every once in a while, and it seems like when you go into rooms to plan marketing, and maybe you have, the CEO and the head marketing officer of the company and maybe a few others, there quite often will be ego involved with opinion. And that doesn't sound like it resonates at all with you, right? And so what's been your experience in terms of, getting this, then this may be helpful for some of the others as well, is, sort of getting people so that, the ego takes a second or a backseat to the data and to be able to, as Jeffrey said, do some A/B testing and actually let and essentially help the whether it's the customer or your internal team see that the data really should drive our decision making. Right.
So I use the data as the arbiter of truth, right? And that's why you need rock solid data. The bigger the company, the more money you're betting on whatever you do, right? So I'll give you one example of all the data said that Pepsi should not launch Crystal Pepsi. It was a bad idea. But the ego of the person at the time said, let's launch Crystal Pepsi. And guess what? It was a colossal failure. We told them it was going to be a colossal failure. So using the data and kind of more specifically, the voice of the customer, as this is not my opinion, I don't mean to be insulting, but here's a quotable quote. So at Pepsi, I led their customer focused initiative called the Right Side Up Company. When we went out and first started talking to our business to business customers, one guy said, doing business with Pepsi is like death by 1,000 pinpricks. That has stuck with me, okay? And guess what? I got the senior leadership's attention with that quote. So sometimes using verbatims is the best way to crystallize, this is not that toilet quote about insurance, right? Doing business with Pepsi is death by 1,000 pricks. You get these quotable quotes that really help people understand, like a blunt knock to the head. You got to wake up. Business as usual is not working for our customers.
Well, and today we could probably use the doing business with Pepsi is like getting coronavirus or no. So we probably need to let you go, Aileen, but can we give Aileen, well, do you want to make any last comments, any wrap-up comments before I ask folks to thank you?
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions. If anything I said was particularly thought-provoking, my contact information is the last slide that Bill shared with you, and happy to join forces, especially Jim. It sounds like you and I need to have some coffee.
Yes, thank you very much. And is your slide deck available? I hate to ask you that. If it's not, that's fine.
I gave it to Bill, and he's going to share it with everyone.
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
In fact, yeah, put it on Google Docs and share a link with you all.
Okay.
Excellent and thought-provoking. You definitely have a different viewpoint, not from me, just a different viewpoint. And I like the fact that it's data-driven and not sort of pie in the sky.
Yeah, the devil's in the data, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Everybody, let's thank Aileen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Clapping. Yeah, there we go. It's hard to really get that warmth when if you're virtual, but you're welcome to stick with us for the rest or go on with your day, whatever is better for you.
All right, thanks. I think I'll move along.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. Hopefully we catch up soon.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
All right, bye now. Okay, well, good stuff. Okay, so I'm back on the agenda, and maybe a couple of announcements, and then we'll open it up to chat about kind of coronavirus and what everybody's seeing as well. So with coronavirus in mind, just for those who have registered for New York or we're going to register, just so you know, we are going to make that a virtual meetup. We're also going to do the same thing with Boston. I think there are probably a couple of reasons. First and foremost is we want to be a responsible community member and don't want to be at all amplifying the coronavirus in any way. And so we'll be, and this, as you can imagine, the situation's been somewhat dynamic, but an announcement will go out tonight on New York with details. But for those that were going, we're going to move it. It was going to start at 5:30 in person. It's going to move, and it's going to be an hour from 7 to 8 on Wednesday night, the 18th. And we moved it back primarily so that people would have time to get home, get comfortable, and if they were out, during the day or whatever. And we're planning to do New York at least once a month. So it may be that in April it's again virtual, and then hopefully by May and June, we're getting into in person. But our thought is we can really build up the New York and the Boston and other communities in this virtual format in this sort of interim period. And then as we get into in person, then we've got a more mature, a more productive community that's getting together. And I think I watched a really good Joe Rogan podcast on the topic yesterday, and he had a wonderful scientist on who said he viewed that sort of most people are envisioning coronavirus or have been envisioning it sort of like sort of a blizzard, sort of a bad couple-day storm. And he said you probably want to more analogize this with a bad winter. And so we think about if it's a bad winter, what happens at the end of the bad winter is people want to get back outside. And so I think if we can take advantage of while people are shuttered, and then also take advantage of the time when people are ready to pop back out, we can build up a good network of in-person meetups. So right now, besides New York and Boston, we also have a date for Hartford, which will be April 23rd. That very likely will go virtual as well, but we have some time on that. Right now it's scheduled to be at the Great Blue research offices in Glastonbury from 5:30 to 7. And then we're working on LA, Cincinnati, Chicago, London, Sao Paulo, and actually Moscow as well. So, and if you're interested in putting one together, hosting one in your area, just let me know. And we're probably by the end of next week, we'll have a really solid template for sort of managing this process, and both for identifying community members, potential attendees, and also for actually facilitating the events themselves. So we're building a operations manual for this right now. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments on the meetups at all?
So, Bill,
Yes, sir.
and I've got a +1 now.
Yeah, look at you. What? No, who's your? Is this your vice president?
This is actually my CEO. So,
Yeah, she's the boss.
are you the boss?
Yeah. Excellent.
So this is Zella, future member of the group, especially if she can pay the annual fee, right? But I did want to ask a real question beyond introducing her. And so is the format going to be just like a round of introductions for these local communities, or what's it going to be like?
Yeah, so let me test it, because everything we're doing is a hypothesis. So and we need good feedback. So this is the A test. We'll develop a B test as we go. But so the format will be introductions. The thought is probably to have one service provider do kind of a spotlight, and also to have a trade professional do some kind of a spotlight as well. So in fact, I'm just talking to somebody from the German Trade Association right now about potentially talking about some of their delegations coming into the US during 2020. And and that's for the New York one next week. And then for those that want, they can hang out just like you would at a mixer afterwards. And if you want to open up a cold beverage wherever you're located and talk more informally, you can do that as well. So the idea, we'll have a kind of a structured time and then a less structured time, and sort of the structured time maybe like 45-ish minutes, maybe something like that, and then that's sort of 15 minutes and spilling over into however long people want to hang out and chat on whatever topics. And again, happy for comments on the agenda, and I'm sure it'll evolve and somewhat localize as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea. I think it's tough because I'm going through this where I run this other monthly, just more of a kind of social professional happy hour kind of thing, and we're trying to figure this out and don't yet have that plan in place. So I'm also looking to learn from others there. But one of the tough things that I haven't wrapped my head around is like just all those great one-on-one sidebars that happen, and like and so how those can just be facilitated. Maybe it's just the nature of like using chat more alongside any of the official thing and actually encouraging that. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to be curious to participate and to see what works, and I think it's some great ideas.
Well, and to that point, and you actually bring up a good point. You're reminding me of something that we're doing, and I didn't say, is so when people register for New York or Boston or Hartford, they're actually telling us what who they want to meet, and we may ask a different question, sort of with each one, but we'll share that actually a couple days before with everybody. So yeah, I think to your point, we absolutely want to encourage, whether it's sidebar conversations or post-event conversations or whatever. But for sure, we want, obviously part of this is stirring the pot so that people build very good, connections with specific individuals that are meaningful for them. So yeah, no, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I like that approach.
Cool. Any other thoughts or questions on the meetups at the moment?
Just a quick comment. This is Lance. I would be very happy to set something up. I have an office at Sacred Heart University, the former GE headquarters, and it's a collaboration with Verizon, and they're actually promoting, hey, Lance, can you put together a monthly meetup? Can you do so? I have to look at where everyone is located and whether it would make sense. We've already have Hartford and New York, so this would be kind of splitting. But I do have access to facilities, and actually Verizon's encouraging us to do something in case. So I'll test interest separately on that. And I don't know, David, where are you? Because I'm curious, if you're doing something monthly, David, are you Fairfield County or where are you located?
No, I'm in Manhattan.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the New York meetup is better.
Yeah,
anyway,
and
I'll talk offline, Bill, about that.
Sure. Yeah, and I could even see rotating between Fairfield County and Hartford on a monthly basis or something. So, but yeah, I think there are a lot of ways we could work that. Cool. Anything else before we move on to the next? So Joan, at the beginning of our call, mentioned NBIA. So many of you know that many of us were going to be going or have been planning to go to Boston at the end of this month for the NBIA, the International Business Innovation Association conference, and a sub-event called the Big Summit. It's scheduled for March 29 through April 1. They have not communicated it at all yet about the event being postponed or canceled. Everything has been all systems go. At this point, I cannot imagine that it's going to happen, but you know, stranger things are happening these days. But some of you were going up to be on the panel, the Co-Creating Universal Market Entry Readiness Assessment for Soft Landing. Yeah, at this point, I think let's put sort of our efforts there in idle. I'd be super surprised if it's going to happen, and I would imagine by tomorrow or Monday we'll have some communication from them telling us that it's postponed or for this cycle canceled. But I don't know. And Joan, it doesn't sound like you've heard anything more than that.
No, I was going to reach out to Lindsay today, but I wanted to hear what you might have as information this afternoon first.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're trying to figure out all the logistics of canceling or rescheduling or whatever they're planning to do. But I really can't imagine that it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be hard for the international folks to come in, which that's
like banned, right?
So,
and the governor, I think, is in Massachusetts has indicated he doesn't want conferences to be run or groups over 500 or something to come together, something like that. So
totally
kind
makes
of
sense.
eliminates the conference. Yeah.
Right. So
they have an update tab. I guess you know that hasn't been updated since March 6th. So I'm pretty sure by now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're just trying to figure out how. It's not if, it's just how.
It would be useful if we could still run that session on market assessment.
Yeah, and maybe we can do it virtually. Let's wait to see what they say, and then maybe we can do a webinar or some type of session or a series of webinars to do it. So, cool, awesome, cool. So really just a couple other things, and I'll open it up. We do have our first blog post posted. It was submitted by Leslie Bubello from Something New. And they have another one that we're reviewing right now, but I'd encourage anybody that has content, blog posts, webinars, vlogs, blogs, anything like that, that is aimed at international companies and market entry, soft landing, any of that type of content that would be helpful for international companies or trade organizations or support organizations that are helping them. Forward it over. You'll see in the agenda, it's the third bullet from the bottom. There's a submission link, and just submit there, and it's easy enough. We just go through a quick review just to make sure it's not like self-promotional and stuff like that, and then we post it up. So and please send us any images as well, so that we can link on those and just create a little more SEO. And then the next meeting topic, We don't have anyone nailed down yet, but what I was thinking, I'd love any feedback on this, is to get essentially somebody from one of the trade organizations, whether it's the UK or Germany or Japan or whatever, but have them talk about the anatomy of a trade delegation or trade mission, and see what, just what they're trying to accomplish, how they're structured, all those types of things. But any thoughts or questions about that? Any? And we do have a way for you to submit just below that additional topics. And we'd love, we want to have a kind of a short topic every time we meet. So any additional ideas, but on this specific topic, any ways to refine that would be helpful for anybody?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic for me. We deal with a number of the delegations that come through Boston because we have a small session that we offer for them to build into their curriculum for the week. And so I'm thinking offhand, the Dutch are pretty active here in Boston. Maybe they would like to join us next month.
Is there somebody you can introduce us to there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
They just canceled, they were having a Dutch clean tech delegation here the week of the 23rd, which has been canceled.
Okay.
So they're available.
Got it. Cool. And actually, I have a clean tech opportunity. I should get a write-up on that I'll forward to you later today as well. That might be pretty interesting for some of your incubators.
Great.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. And just the date of the next meeting is April 2nd. So same time, same bat channel. And Lance and I actually talked before this, and as we evolve, and I'm probably thinking, 6 months from now, and we're going to look for your feedback on these types of things. But I'm not sure that we'll continue meeting in these formats or in this, sort of, I would say, global meeting as much, and in favor of really trying to focus on building the local communities. And we'll have some kind of a global structure, but I think we'll kind of develop that as we go. And again, certainly would love your feedback. But yeah, as you know, more meetings isn't always the right answer or the better answer. It's really how do we have the right number of meetings and make them effective and productive. And so more flavors isn't always a better mix. But I'll stop there and certainly open it up. Does anyone have any needs, opportunities, issues that they want to chat about or that would be helpful?
Yeah, what's Crystal Pepsi? I'm sorry.
I think that was her point.
Hey,
What
Bill,
else?
just a thought on,
Yeah.
Do you think Patrick would speak at the next one? Because that's sort of what you're talking when you're talking delegations, BCIU. Maybe he'd be interested in speaking to us.
Well, and maybe what we do, and we'd have to probably go with a longer format for this, would be to have, we could do a panel, but if we're going to have 2 or 3 people, we're going to need more than 12.5 minutes and kind of bullet points. So let me, and maybe there's a different topic for Patrick. And they don't do as much in the delegation space. They're dealing more with sort of enterprise companies, is kind of their core. But yeah, there's probably a good topic for him. But let's maybe chat about that offline too.
Sure.
Cool. Other thoughts, comments, needs, opportunities? So one thing that is an opportunity for all of us, and I just encourage, if you haven't yet been on the Slack channel, or for whatever reason somehow we haven't invited you to it, let me know. But it's for those that aren't familiar with Slack, it's a wonderful platform to share anything, needs, opportunities, brags, anything like that, and new capabilities. But please use it. And the more we can start sort of putting things out there, and we'll purposefully start putting more out there, but I would encourage, there's a platform for everybody, and we can begin, if you're going to an event that it might be interesting for the rest of the community, obviously those are probably not happening for the next month or 2, or maybe a little bit longer, but as those come back up, please let us know. And it'd be good to have those types of things in a central place. And if there are enough of us going to certain events like there were for this NBIA conference, then we can have our own meetups. We can do, additional things as well. So please feel free to use that. And again, let me know if you're not on it, and we'll get you on.
Bill, if you sent it out, I missed it. Would you resend it, please?
I will, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I apologize, but I may have missed it in my 1,000 emails from all over the world some days.
I hear you. Cool.
Do we have a LinkedIn group?
We do. I will put the LinkedIn group. Give me just a second and I'll put it in the chat. And I'll put it on the, actually maybe what I'll do too is I'll put it on the top of the agenda.
Put it on Slack.
Yeah, I'll put it everywhere, Jeff. I'm putting it everywhere. Let's see. Here we go. I'm getting it now, and it is it's now in the chat, and I'll put it on the agenda.
Perfect.
The header of the agenda as well.
Bill, can you also just point people to the area where we all speak about what it is we do, because this is phenomenal. I know I'm going to reach out to Joan separately here because we're definitely in the same space, and it's odd where I'm not, thankfully I'm in a place where I'm not looking for new clients or business, but I'm very willing to help, and I'm mainly interested for this group to find competent professionals where I can rely on people that are in this space, and I can hand off to, I'll bring up John Hannigan. John and I are seeing each other on Monday, and if somebody in commercial real estate looking for space, I know I've got the perfect partner there, and hopefully everybody else on this call is the perfect partner for what you do. So anyway, I would like to know if we have that space on the website where everybody can just update their profiles.
Yeah, so if you go to the member directory, you'll find your profile there. So just, go to softlandpartners.com, and we are continuing to sort of build capability there. We want to, over time, really create some very strong taxonomy. There is some pretty good search capability now, but the idea is that evolves into a marketplace where market entry companies, I mean, they can do it now, but where we have a really good flow of market entry companies and trade organizations that are using that as a marketplace to identify whether it's directly the specific individual they'll work with, or at least a short list of individuals that they could talk to and resource. And so, just softlandpartners.com and go to the member directory.
Bill?
Yes.
Do you have any calendar of the delegations that are coming through? Does the Consular Corps put together anything like that? How do you find which ones are coming through? Usually when we hear about them or they reach out to us, it's at the last minute. Can you do that? Like a little forward planning if possible.
Yeah, no, and I think that's interesting. So, part of our model is, I think, we have, I would say that we have three constituents here. Certainly there's us, there's all the service providers, then there are the trade organizations that lead the delegations, and then there are the market entry companies. And so our goal is really to bring as many of the trade organizations, whether they're country or industry or region or city, in as partners. Mm-hmm. And so I think your point's well taken is, is there a sort of a community calendar where they can post their delegations? And I think it's an interesting thing for us to look at, to kind of put on our development roadmap. Jeffrey, make a note on that. And kind of, but I think that's great, because I know of no central place for that. I've never seen it, but it certainly makes sense that we could lead doing that, even if it's a private thing. It's easy to do. So no, great question. I think we'll look at putting that on the roadmap so we can develop it. Yes.
Quick question on potential candidates for this organization, if I know providers, whatever. I was gonna have a couple people join us in New York because I saw your email. Do we want to do that while we're doing this virtually? You tell me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, and no, and it actually gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of, it's just easier for people to attend virtually too. So I think we can engage a much bigger community now, and create that awareness that may have taken a little bit longer in starting, with in-person meetings. So yes, please. And Melanie asked a question: is the LinkedIn group, can I join? It's looking like a comp page. No, you should be able to join it. If not, we can, we'll create a member page or something. Maybe we created the wrong kind of page. So good question.
Yeah, no problem. I went on it, and
Yep.
I was able to hit follow, but I didn't see something that said join group.
Okay.
And I think that's how that works. I've never made my own page, but I've joined other people's, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. We probably just created an organization page as opposed to a community page. So we'll create a community page as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Good.
Company page as opposed to a group.
Right. Okay. We'll
Might be
do
some
that.
benefits to that,
I'm sorry.
There might be some benefits to that as opposed to a group. I mean,
Yeah.
there are benefits to both. So.
Yeah, no, we can certainly do both. Easy enough, and certainly having a place where we can all communicate. I would suggest, if we could, the one nice thing about Slack is we can begin creating subgroups and sub-interest groups and whatnot that we have a bit probably more flexibility and easy to repository, documents or things that would be helpful long-term to anyone as well. So, well, good. Is there anything else that we should talk about today that would be helpful for anyone? Cool. Well, please feel free to reach out individually. Obviously, there's, I think we're in both a dynamic situation in terms of developing the group, but also a fluid situation with the coronavirus. But if we are responsible, I think we'll hopefully be through the corona thing. By the time it gets real warm and nice and sunny out, and we want to be outside and interacting a lot too. So. In any event, hopefully you all stay good, healthy, safe, and again, we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully on Wednesday in the New York meetup, or the Boston meetup, or the Hartford meetup, or some virtual meetup sometime soon.
Wash your hands.
A lot.
Meetup, do we have to wash our hands?
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
Good meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep.